Welcome to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate conversations served straight up, never watered down. Here's your host, Dave Snowberger.
Welcome back to Real Estate on the Rocks. I am Dave Snowberger, and I'm joined in the studio today with Marshall Tucker. And do we have a treat for you? We have a special guest today. His name is Jim McCord. I'm honored to interview Jim. He is a best-selling author. He's a real estate coach and a KW recruiter, and he's been an agent on a high level, I would say, for quite some time. So, Jim, how are you this morning?
Fantastic. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on, Dave.
Oh, no problem. Thanks. It's our pleasure, actually. So I with these interviews, I like to get right into it. I want everybody to get to know you in the next 30 minutes. And so let's do the best job we can for the listeners. Who is Jim McCord?
Well, Jim McCord, first off, is a father of 4 grown kids, grandfather of 5 grandchildren. That's my priority, always has been. About 26 years ago, I got into real estate. And it's a funny thing, Dave, I got into real estate because, and this is true, I have it in the book, I didn't like the way my wife and I were treated by realtors. And 2 of the first 3 realtors we worked with were cousins of mine. And, man, I just wasn't impressed. You know, it seemed like they were just trying to sell us a house and move on. They just wanted us to write a contract. They didn't really care. It was obvious to me they didn't really know anything about sales or how to handle customers. And that happened early on. And, I had gotten into a couple other sales positions, and I was frustrated with my last sales position in the real world out there. And that's when I decided to make a career change. And I thought back on real estate. I thought, man, if somebody got into real estate and they treated people the way people should be treated, they might do really well. So that was 1993. That's how and why I got in, and I think just kind of progressed from there.
Fantastic. So real quick, where do you sell real estate? I know that you have a Kentucky phone number, but I believe you're up in Ohio as well?
Yeah, I actually live in northern Kentucky, and I got licensed in Kentucky in 1993. And I am still licensed in Kentucky and Ohio. My career took a couple changes, real estate's up and down like all of our lives are, but I sold real estate the conventional way the first 15 years. And what I mean by that is pretty much what all the books, all the coaches, all the trainers, pretty much every broker teaches for the most part still today. There are some exceptions, but my first 15 years, I did a lot of cold phone calling, a lot of door knocking, and I farmed. I farmed a 700 home area for years and years and years. And that's what I did because that's what our broker told us to do. And I paid a coach back in 1993 and 94. And that's what they told me to do. So that's what I did. And it worked. But you had to do a lot of it. And even though I enjoyed sales, I'm not one of those who liked cold phone calling people, cold door knocking people. It just didn't feel good. Even when you get used to it, you'll do it and it works, but it just didn't feel good. So back in 2009, I was introduced to a product where you could send personalized cards. And at first I thought, well, that seems kind of hokey because I'm not a card sender. And that's a fact. My first 15 years, I did not send one greeting card. I did not even send Christmas cards to my clients at Christmas, which is ridiculous, but I wasn't a card sender. But anyway, somebody introduced me to this product, and I started using it, and I started using it only to thank my customers, thank buyers who bought houses from me. And I would put a picture of them standing in front of the house they bought on the front of a greeting card and a thank you message on the inside. And I'd send that with like a gift card, a Lowe's or Home Depot or a gift card. And it just really worked. I did that for a few months, and I thought, man, these people love getting these cards because it's about them. My first 15 years, everything I sent was about me and whichever company I was with at the time. I've switched brokers 6 times over the 26 years. And, that it really seemed to work when I sent them something with a photo of them in the house they bought because, that's probably the most expensive ad set they ever purchased. And they keep it, and they would show it around. So I thought, well, maybe I should use this product for prospecting. And I started doing that. I started sending custom greeting cards to for sale by owners and expired listings. And prior to that, what I would do was just cold call, cold door knock, cold phone call, cold door knock, and send company information. But when I started sending greeting cards with a photo of their house to that for sale by owner, to that expired, I got a better response. And it really, really worked for me. So one thing kind of led to the next. I used that. I quit the cold phone calling. Certainly phone calling, it was part of my follow-up. I had 8 different methods of follow-up that I used, but phone calling is part of that. But I focused like almost 100% of my marketing dollars and time on for sale by owners and expireds, and it just really worked for me.
Jim, this is Marshall. I have to say I really like that idea about sending a personalized envelope of that house to the for sale by owner, and I'm really excited about that. I think I want to try that.
Well, I tell you what, it's a funny thing. It works, you know. I mean, but it's kind of like cold phone calling. You know, a lot of the coaches of what I did, I'd make at least 50 cold phone calls a day my first 15 years. And that works too. You know, pretty much any market, there's all kind of ways that we can market as realtors. And they all probably work. It's just some work better than others and some fit your personality better than others. But what I do know, and these stats are true for pretty much all cold calling, all industries, not just real estate, you have to irritate between 90 and 98 people with cold phone calls to get 2 or 3 leads, you know?
Right.
And that's just the way it is. I'm convinced, having done it and having not done it, that's not the way we should be doing business. It just isn't.
It just seems that's a good way to stand out and be different from all the other agents.
Yeah. Well, and then, you know, there was another turn in my career, and I guess this was probably the biggest turn. It was about 6.5 years ago. I was the top agent in our county numerous years, but I never, ever had $1 million plus listing. Now, in Northern Kentucky, $1 million home is a very high-end home. As a matter of fact, in our MLS in Northern Kentucky, we only average 5 homes a year that resale over $1 million. 5. That's it. So there weren't many of them, and I'd never had one, but there was a $2.2 million expired listing. And I really wanted to get it. You know, I saw it expired, and I didn't like that agent. I just didn't like that agent for, you know, a lot of reasons. And not only did I not like that agent, but a whole lot of other realtors, just about every realtor I know didn't like that person. And I thought, I should go after that. And then I remember thinking, what would I say to a $2 million? At that time, not having had one, I thought they were like different people or something, which is ridiculous. But, you know, I do remember thinking that. And I thought, well, you know, I've been using these custom greeting cards and gifts. I'm going to go ahead and send him one. So I made his a little bit bigger, and I sent a card. And not only did I put the photo of the expired homeowner's home on the front of the card, but I Googled his first and last name, and I clicked on images, and I put his photo, actually his photo on the top of the card and the photo of his home on the bottom of the front of the card. And on the inside, you know, just a short message, hey, your listing expired. Are you still interested in selling? I'm different than all the other realtors in town. And I sent that card with 2 dozen cookies. Mm-hmm. And prior to that time, I wasn't sending cookies. I was just sending the card. But I thought, well, $2 million listing, I should send a gift. And with this company, you can send gifts. So I sent that, and I don't know, 4 or 5 days later, I got a phone call, and it was that seller. He said, Jim McCord. I said, yeah, that's me. He says, well, I got a package from you. And he said his name. He said, I'd really like to meet with you. You truly seem like you are different than all the other realtors. So we set up an appointment. I went to his $2.2 million house, rang the doorbell. He answered the door. First thing he said after we introduced ourselves, he said, well, Jim, just so you know, I'm interviewing 3 other agents, 3 other realtors over the next couple of days. And I said, it's no problem. I expect that. And then we sat down, and he said, well, I will tell you this. He said, I'm not going to relist with that last agent. She is not a good person. And I just started laughing. And he says, what are you laughing about? I said, Mark, that's the only reason I went after your listing. I said, I don't like that realtor either. I don't know any realtor that likes her. And I thought, well, if we don't like her, chances are the seller doesn't like her. So that's why I went after. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So he showed me around the house. We did the walkthrough. I had the comps, and I told him, I said, Mark, your house is not going to sell for $2 million plus. So I said, you need to get it below that $2 million figure. I said, here's why. Here's the comps. Here's what's sold in the last 5 years. I went back 5 years because, you normally wouldn't do that. But in our market where there's very few homes like that, and I showed him, and he goes, okay. He goes, you have a listing contract? I said, I have one in the truck. He said, go get it. He said, I don't need to be with those 3 other realtors. They're not going to do what you do. And he listed with me.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. And I thought, wow. I was with a very small broker at the time. I'm with Keller Williams now, but at that time I was with a small broker. And as you guys know, you've been around long enough. It doesn't matter what broker you're with.
Jim, from the moment you see a listing that's expired or a Fizbo that you want to go after and you take a picture of it and you send it to banner season, how soon do they send that out to the client or the prospective client?
They send it out that next day. So if I design it and hit send today, it gets sent out tomorrow.
Sent out tomorrow.
But here's the deal with that. A whole lot of realtors will say, well, Jim, that's not enough. That's going to take 3 or 4 days before they get it. And it is, depending what part of the country you're in. But I have a system that I use, and part of that system is doing a drop packet the day it expires. So some of those people are going to relist in the next day, the next 2 days, the next 3 days before they get my packet from banner season. So they get a drop packet from me, the day it expires. And it's not in a Keller Williams envelope, or it's not in a Keller Williams folder. I buy like 9 by 12 envelopes, just blank envelopes. Some are white bubble wrap, some are yellow, some are brown. And I just write the homeowner's last name on there, and then below that I write confidential. And then confidential I put in quotes. And in that packet, what I put at the top piece is what I call a drop letter. It just has their name, their name first, their last name, and then below that it says your listing expired last night. Are you still interested in selling? And then I have a few things that are specific to that house, like it's been listed more than a couple times. If their previous agent did not take good photos, and I'll mention that, your previous photos were not good. Is there a time we can get together and talk? I'm different than all the other realtors. That's pretty much the typical message that goes on the drop letter.
Oh, cool. And how often do you...
The drop letter's on the top. And then the MLS goes below that, and I highlight the date that it expired, which was yesterday, and then my business card below that goes below that.
When you send these out, how often do you get a response back? Do you expect a response back on every single one you send out?
Nope. The magic in all sales, not just real estate, but all sales. There's 2 things about real estate that are just not funny, but just true. Most realtors are not salespeople. They want to send something out and get a response.
Agreed.
And that occasionally happens, and it does happen more with banner season than anything else because, I am personalizing the card and the products I'm sending. But even with banner season, it doesn't matter what product you use. The magic is always in the follow-up. And realtors, notoriously, number one, most of them don't prospect. We know that. It's a good thing for those of us who do. Most realtors just won't do it. And of those who do prospect, very few are going to follow up. And of those very few that follow up, they might follow up with 1 or 2 phone calls. But I got 8 different methods of follow-up that I use. And I'm doing, with an expired listing, I'm doing one method, a different method every day. That's where you get your listing appointment, is in follow-up.
Yeah.
That's the magic's always in the follow-up.
That's we always say the fortune's in the follow-up, and that's our Fizbo plan. We mostly call and then send handwritten notes to for sale by owners, but we see the same thing, that after 2 or 3 phone calls, that if there were 10 people calling after the second phone call, or the second week, 5 of those realtors drop off. By the 3rd week on a for sale by owner, or even an expired, by the 3rd week there's maybe 2 realtors left, and as long as we're the last person standing and we have great rapport with that seller, we see our hit rate on being able to help these sellers sell their homes that they wanted to do in the first place, it goes through the roof. I believe we did. Our number is the past rolling 12 months, we've done 16 for sale by owners. So give you some validity to that.
I think that, for sale by owners, I did more for sale by owners my first 15 years than I did expireds. But the last 10 years, I've done more expireds. And there's a few reasons for that. Expired is, well, I guess before I even get into that, let me tell you, we're all in a good market now. Pretty much nationwide, everybody's in a good market, so that we don't have nearly the number of expireds that we had 5 years ago or 8 years ago. But I coach realtors now, so I've been on over 100 different MLSs in the past 2 years that I've been coaching. And so many realtors, they'll say when they're thinking about using me as a coach, or even if they're just talking to me about expireds and I'm not coaching them yet, they'll say, Jim, we just don't have many expireds. And they say, I got on my MLS this morning and we have 4 expireds. Well, you go back 12 months and you look at those old expireds. When you go back 12 months and you look at those old expireds and you pull the history on them, the ones that didn't relist and didn't sell, very, very few agents are calling on the expired listing from 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 10 months ago. The ones that expired last night, there's only a few of them, but they have 30, 40, 50 agents calling them. The ones that expired 3 months ago or 10 months ago have nobody calling them.
Yeah, so, we're here in Austin, Texas, and it's a really hot market and always in the top 3 places to move. So there's just 16,000 agents. And we noticed when we were doing the expireds and trying to be consistent in calling every day, not trying, but being consistent every day in calling expireds, every single door was slammed in our face because by 9:01, when we started calling, it seemed that other agents started calling as early as 6 in the morning. And by the time 9 o'clock rolled around, they were done with it. Expired.
You are dead on. And I want anybody that listens to this podcast, put yourself in the mind of the homeowner of one of those expireds. Now, I'm with Keller Williams, and I think you guys know about the BOLD program. Keller has this program called BOLD, which gets people to cold call. And every single time Keller does one of those, every time in every market, there's some of those homeowners that call the office and they ask for the manager and they say, would you please tell your agents to quit calling us? And that's truth. And it's not just the Keller Williams agents. It's the RE/MAX, the Coldwell Banker, the EXP. It's all the local and regional companies. So you have a house that expired and you're getting bombarded with phone calls. And then you go out the door to get in your car, or you come home later that day and there's an envelope either in your mailbox or at your door. There's a big envelope and here's your last name, confidential. You open it up and there's a message there from a realtor that tells you in this message, hey, I'm different than all the other realtors. That's why, phone calling is only one of 8 methods. If you use a variety of different methods, people they'll be way more likely, because they don't want all those cold phone calls. They really don't. And it's annoying to them.
Yeah.
But real quickly, I got to jump back on the expired, why it's better. For sale by owners, almost religiously, all think their house is worth more than it is. That's kind of unanimous. And that's just the way it is. And I think I've had 2 sellers in 26 years who actually thought their house was worth less than, what I thought it was worth. And that's why most for sale by owners don't sell, because they all overprice them. And if you own a for sale by owner now, put yourself in the mind of the owner, that for sale by owner, and you think your house is worth $450,000. So you're going to interview 3 agents. So you pick 3 of those agents who are annoying you to interview, and the first one comes in, does the walkthrough, sits down, shows you the comps, and they ask you what you think the value is, and you say around $450. So the first agent says, well, let's go ahead and list this for $469. Right, and here's the comps. I think that we could justify that. Let's list it at $469. So that afternoon, they have the second agent that they have an appointment with. They meet that agent at the door, do the walkthrough, sit down. The agent shows them the comps, and that agent says, here's the comps. You got a great house. Here's what I do. Let's go ahead and list that at $449. And then the next day they have the third agent in. Third agent happens to be the one who's the most honest, does the walkthrough, sits down, shows them the comps. This is what we do. This is our background. We can't possibly list your house more than $429,000. That's the max. And we expect to get somewhere between $415,000 and $420,000. Now, if you own that house and you don't know a lot about real estate, which most homeowners don't, there is no way in hell you're going to list with that person who said $429,000. 99% of the people are going to go with the agent who gives them the highest price, that $469,000, because the other agent just gave away $40,000 of their money before they even got it on the market, and that's a fact. So to get for sale by owners listed, most of the time you have to agree to overprice them. And we don't want overpriced listings, and I certainly, have I overpriced listings to get them? Yes, of course I have. I think most of us have. And I think most agents say they won't do that, but the experience shows that they do. So if you work a for sale or work an expired listing, they've had their house on the market for 6 months, 9 months, a year. They may have tried for sale by owner before that. Not all of them, but they're a lot more likely to list at a reasonable price. So that's one reason that you want to work the expireds, because they're more likely to list at a reasonable price. You don't have to overprice it. Second reason is the expired listing is going to make a decision quick, usually within a week or two, sometimes a day or two. That for sale by owner may not make a decision who they're going to list with for 2, 3, 4, 5 months. So you have to work that for sale by owner a lot longer. And if you're doing them consistently, if you're doing 2 a day like I did or like I coach agents to do, after a month, you've got 60 or 80 different prospects you're working. After 2 months, double that. And to try to do follow-up on 100 or a couple hundred prospects is almost impossible. So the expired is going to make a decision much quicker. You either get it or you don't. You get it or you don't. And then the third reason that I love expireds and working in the last 10 years is because more expireds that relist are priced reasonably than more for sale by owners, the sales cycle is shorter. So it's not going to be on the market as long because typically they're priced closer to market value. So I'm a big believer, even though I did my first 15 years, I did more for sale by owners. Last 10 years, I did almost only expired.
Yeah. And I think you've actually convinced us to open up our eyes to expireds. As we kind of get into our own lane to where we think that, we don't want to follow the masses, and we're successful with the for sale by owners, I would say. And we've never really put in the expireds because, like I said, we didn't want to call them. You've opened my eyes to a whole new, possibilities of going after expireds and showing the value that we bring to the table. And obviously at the end of it, we get to serve that client at the highest, level possible and sell their homes. And you've done a great job presenting that so far with your, your system here. You care to share? I know you said you have eight methods. And so I'd like to hear about, you don't have to go to detail on all 8, but however, if you could run down a list real quick.
Yeah, I'll gladly share some of those. Think about it, their home's expired or they have a for sale by owner sign out. Either way, we know they're getting bombarded with phone calls.
Right.
You and I, there's nobody out there that likes getting cold phone calls on their cell phone. Nobody. Or home phone. Almost nobody has a home phone anymore. But either way, we don't like getting them. So we're getting annoyed 10, 20, 30, 40 times a day. And then whether it's for sale by owner or expired, because I do coach Fizbos also, you walk out and there's a packet at the door. And you open that up and you read that letter. And in that letter it says, hey, I'm different than all the other realtors. And I'm thinking, well, I just had 30 or 40 people annoying me already this morning. This guy says he's different. Maybe he is. So sometimes literally I get calls off the drop letter, just the drop letter, because I didn't knock at the door. I didn't knock at the door. Now, my first 15 years when I was coached by that huge, still around coaching organization, which is great, I'm not knocking them because that does work. But people don't want their doorbell ringing at 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning either. So I just leave that packet. So that's the first thing that they get from me, whether it's an expired or for sale by owner, they get that drop packet. The next thing, that night, I'm going to go back and I'm going to send them a banner season packet. And my first few years, I sent only the card. Now I'm going to send that banner season packet, which is going to include a card with a photo of their house on the front. And it's going to include a gift. And I like to use, a lot of times, I like to use the coffee mug and put a photo of their house on the coffee mug. Now, some of the agents I coach say, Jim, they're selling the house. They don't want a coffee mug with the house they're selling. Well, yeah, they do, because they lived in that house for years. And that's a keepsake. That's that's something they're going to keep. They appreciate that. And they're getting all these phone calls from people that they don't like, and then they got a packet from this guy at the door, and then 3 days later they got a box, and they open that box. The first thing they see is a card, a greeting card with a photo of their house. And it may say, the cards are all different. I don't always use the same wording. Quite often the front of the card just has a photo of the house and nothing else. But sometimes I'll put, your listing is expired. Are you satisfied with your previous realtor? Or your listing is expired. Are you still interested in selling? And then inside is the short message from me. So they're going to get a card from me with a packet. They're also, one of the first things I do that first day is search them out on Facebook and on LinkedIn and on Google. Now, you're going to find almost everybody on Facebook, and it takes a while. If they have a real common name, it's hard to figure out which one is which, but you can do it. It takes a little while. And you're going to find fewer of them on LinkedIn. But when I find them, I friend them, and I don't just friend them or connect with them. I send them a message. Hi, whatever this is the first message comes with a friend request on Facebook. Hi, Dave, your listing expired last night. I dropped a packet off. I'm completely different than every other realtor you've ever met. I'd love to meet with you and talk about why I'm different and how I can help you get your house sold. So they get that message with the friend request. I wouldn't say, I couldn't give you the exact percentage, but most people that you request and you send a private message with, along with that friend request, are going to friend you back. So now I have Facebook. That's one of my prospecting methods. And agents don't use Facebook for that. They put their listings on there, but a lot of people are on Facebook 5, 10, 15, 20 times a day. And those very, very, very few realtors are sending Facebook messages to prospects. Same thing on LinkedIn. You'll find fewer on LinkedIn, but the business people who are on LinkedIn who use it all the time, I can't tell you how many times people have said, Jim, you're the only realtor who ever connected with me on LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
Now, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a small percentage of the market, but those who use LinkedIn a lot are blown away when I send them a LinkedIn message. Hey, this is Jim, whatever their name is. This is Jim McCord. Your listing expired. I'm different than all the other realtors. That's a kind of a common theme. Whichever of the 8 follow-up methods I use, it's that different wording, but like not all realtors are the same. I'm different. I'd love to meet with you. That thing goes in there. You got the drop letters. You certainly have phone calls. You do have door knocks. The door knocks I like, but I don't knock at the door cold until after they've received a custom packet from me in the mail. Now, when I say this, nobody believes it, but it's the God's honest truth. Because I don't cold door knock up front, when I do that door knock in 3 or 4 or 5 days later, they don't know I'm coming, and I knock, hi, this is Jim McCord. They remember you. It's not like it guarantees a listing, but it turns a cold door knock into a warm door knock instantly. Now, you're the guy that sent me that really cool packet. And I said, yeah, that's me. And it just breaks the ice. I mean, really, really works. So a variety of follow-up methods. You'll be amazed if you start doing it, because people just don't like phone calls.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like
and then
Facebook
the consistency.
messages. Yeah. Now, with the expireds, you have to do some every day, or at the very least every other day, because they're going to make a decision quick. If you're working for sale by owners, the last thing you want to do is contact a for sale by owner every day, because they're not likely to make a decision that week. Now, some agents will tell you the opposite, but calling somebody every day when they're for sale by owner, it's not on their mind. They're getting ready to list. That expired listing is thinking, I got to get my house back on the market. Who am I going to list it with? So that's on their mind constantly. So it's okay to do something with that expired every day. But the for sale by owner, I say contact no more than once a week, but use a variety of methods.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks for sharing all those tips with me real quick. I wanted to come into some rapid fire questions real quick where I'll ask a question and you just answer it at will. How's that?
Sure.
All right, let's do this. If someone tells you this is the way it's always been done, what is your response?
You mean a seller would tell me that, or another realtor would tell me that?
I would say another realtor. So the preface of our show is we're more directed right at realtors under that 2-year mark, or realtors maybe that are struggling with their business after 2 years. And so what we always try to do is really have just great advice from agents that are, top producers, that it's what's working for them. But I'm sure you get that a lot where you try to add advice where you're in your coaching, you got your coaching hat on and you ask that question and they give you that response. Well, this is the way it's always been done.
I love that question. And the answer to that is in the statistics. National Association of Realtors statistics show that over 80% of newly licensed realtors nationwide, and this is held true all 26 years, over 80% of newly licensed realtors will not be in our industry within 2 or 3 years. So the way things have always been done is not working now. It didn't work 5 years ago. It didn't work 10 years ago. And it didn't work 20 years ago. So the last thing you want to do is do things the way things have always been done. You definitely want to be different than all the other realtors.
I 100% agree. All right, here's another question. As a leader, what additional sources of education do you invest in or advise your coaching clients to invest in?
What I advise my clients are 2 books, and the one book is not even a real estate book at all. It's called The One Thing. It's written by Gary Keller. Now, some agents who are Keller might think, "Oh, I'm not going to get that. That's a Keller Williams book." No, it's not. As a matter of fact, it has nothing to do with real estate. What the one thing will do for you is teach you to focus. And see, realtors don't have focus, and I blame that on the managers and the brokers, because I've been with Remax, I'm with Keller Williams, I've been with Coldwell Banker, I've been with 3 local and regional companies. They're all the same. You get all the books are all the same. There's like 20 different things that we can do marketing wise. And these brokers and these books and these coaches, most of them teach all those things. So a new realtor comes in and they're just bombarded with all this stuff: farming, open houses, cold calling. They got all this stuff, all this stuff that they can do. So they try and do a little bit of everything, and nothing works because they're just doing a little bit of everything. And, and I always make it really clear, what I coach works for me and it works for the agents that I coach who actually use it. But if you're a newer agent or if you're an experienced agent and you're just not getting the results you want, you need to pick something that fits with your personality and something that you will actually do, something you'll actually do. And that's what I find in The One Thing. It teaches agents to focus.
Absolutely.
You have to narrow your focus. You got to pick, you got to select a target market, a niche, and you got to select a way to market yourself.
Right.
And there's not one way that works for everybody, but when you do that, I guess I should just back up a little bit real quickly and share how I got turned on to The One Thing. I joined Keller Williams 6.5 years ago, and it's shortly after I listed that $2 million house I told you guys about. I got that listing on the first appointment, and I was driving back to the office, and I thought, wow, 21 years, and I've never had $1 million listing. Now I got a $2 million listing. I should look and see if there's any more of those. So I went back to the office, and I went back 6 months, and I pulled expired listings over $1 million. And I checked on the history of each one. There were 3 other ones that expired in the last 3 months that hadn't relisted or sold. So I sent, over the next couple of weeks, I sent all 3 of them the same type of packet, a card, picture of the owner, picture of their house, 2 dozen cookies. And over that next month, I listed all 3 of them. And I thought, wow, in 1 month, I got 4 listings over $1 million, 21 years, none. So I decided I want to make my focus $1 million homes. And, as I mentioned earlier, Northern Kentucky doesn't have $1 million homes. We average 5 a year, but I live 2 miles from Ohio, from Cincinnati. And a lot of my clients have asked me to get licensed in Ohio when they buy in Ohio. And I always swore I would never do that. I got enough headache just trying to learn this market. I'm not going to learn the Ohio market. But what I got on an Ohio agent, a friend of mine who's licensed in Ohio, and I pulled their history of $1 million homes. In Cincinnati, MLS averages 125 sales a year over $1 million. We average 5. 2 miles from here, they average 125. So I got licensed in Ohio. And I also decided, because when I pulled the history of those homes, $1 million homes that sold in Ohio, I saw that the top 10 agents, the first 9, the top 9 were women, and the number 10 was a man. And I thought, well, all these wealthy people are used to dealing with women. There's enough commission. I should probably get a female partner. So I selected a female partner. Commission, $1 million home if you're doing multiple. So, it took a while, and I finally found the right female agent, and we started working together. Well, she gave me that book that first week that we started working together. She gave me the book of One Thing. And I went home, and I can say without question, it's the only book in my life that I read cover to cover. I'm not a huge reader, but I took that book home and I laid on our hammock, my hammock in the backyard, and it took about 3.5 hours. I read it cover to cover because it was perfect. They say timing's everything. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm laying there in that hammock, for the last month. I had made that decision. I'm going to focus only on $1 million homes, plus I'm going to tip everything below $1 million. And here is this book that's telling me exactly how to focus. So throughout that book, throughout that 3.5 hours of reading it, I decided I was going to prospect 2 homes over $1 million every day for the next 30 days and just see what happened. And because of that book, and because I actually took action, and I did that, I prospected 2 expired homes over $1 million in the Cincinnati, Ohio market. My business just took off. So for the next 5.5 years, I did nothing but $1 million plus homes. So focus. Here I am. I'm 61 years old, and I learned that lesson at the age of 55. And if I had learned that lesson at the age of 35, if I had started focusing on $1 million homes at the age of 35 instead of 55, imagine how much more money I would have made.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I did really well, but my average sale price was like $170,000. And there's just,
hindsight's definitely 20/20 on that. I learned something new every day. I mean, every time I do one of these interviews, I learn something just kind of, mind blown, and aha moments through this whole interview. So I really appreciate it. I've got one more question that I wrote down here. It's kind of a question. I think you're going to have a great answer for it. But if you lost it all tomorrow, what would be the first thing you would do to rebuild? And I think I know where you're going to go with this.
Yeah, there's 2 things I would do. Number one, I would immediately get back into prospecting $1 million homes because I could do that. I could go to Austin and do it. I could go to San Diego and do it. I could go to Scottsdale and do it. And so that's really quick, good money for me. That's probably what I would do first. Now, if I were able to go back 20 or 30 years in time, what would I do? I would get into more businesses. I would get into real estate, and I would focus on luxury homes, but I would get into businesses that provide me residual income. Because right now I have 4 different streams of income coming in. And up until about 3 years ago, I only had 1 stream of income coming in, just 1. And the reason that is, I had this negative impression of all those companies, all those MLM companies that, they're all garbage. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't look at them. But now I have 4 different streams of income coming in, and I have retirement that even if I quit work tomorrow, I have a lot of money coming in every month because just like I said a few years back, actually, the first one of those I got involved in was 10 years ago. I've got 3 different streams of income coming in without working. They come in every day because I did start to believe in MLM. And, those are the 2 things I would do if I were to start over. I would sell strictly luxury real estate, and I'd get involved in a couple really good MLMs.
Nice. All right. Great advice there. So lastly, A Revolution in Real Estate Sales by Jim McCord. Tell us a little bit about your book and where we can pick it up.
You can get that on Amazon for $9.95. It's a short book. It's only 74 pages. And I make this offer. As a matter of fact, I made a little video yesterday. And I make it on most of the videos that I make. Please feel free to connect with me, especially on YouTube, because I have over 150 videos there, training videos that are all free. But you can get my book on Amazon, and anybody who buys my book from Amazon, if they don't like it, call me, email me. I'll give you my address, send the book back to me. I'll send you $10 back. So I've been making that offer for 4 years. Not one person has sent the book back. Not one person. I wrote the book because, over my 26 years, especially early on, I would go to the library and I would go to the bookstore. We didn't have Amazon 25, 26 years ago, but man, I bought easily 24 books over the years on how to sell real estate. And I learned a lot from them. It's not like they're bad. They're all good books. But what I noticed in all of them is kind of what I mentioned earlier in this podcast is they all promote like 20, 25 different methods of marketing. These are all the things a realtor can and should do. And they're all things that do work. But unless a realtor focuses on one or two or three of those things, they're going to be scattered all over the place. And they might still be successful, but their life's going to be miserable because they're doing all of these things. Having started this, working the system for myself, I didn't even know it was going to be a system 10 years ago. I just kind of stumbled onto one thing led to the next, to the next, to the next. Well, after working that for 6 years, I was starting to make some videos to share these marketing techniques with realtors, and my videos got a lot of views. And I've got, 1,600 subscribers on YouTube. And I thought, well, maybe I should write a book. And I was kind of laughing at myself because I thought, before you don't even read books, how could you write a book? So, I did. I took about 6 months. I committed to an hour every night. I didn't do it in the morning. I actually did it at night, an hour before I went to sleep every night. I worked on this book. And it took 6, 8, maybe 9 months to finish it. And I thought, well, I'm not going to. I was pretty negative. I thought, even though it's got some great concepts, it probably isn't going to sell. I'm not going to pay to have it printed. So I threw it on Amazon, which you can do free at no cost as an ebook. And I put it out there for $4.99. And within a few months, I made like $4,000. Wow. So I had enough printing. It just took off. It sold really quickly as an ebook in the marketing world. So I had enough to print my first batch of books. And the books, I put those on Amazon, and they sold really quickly. So then it became a number one bestseller in real estate, and then I had like 10,000 of them printed, and as of now, I'm up to over 22,000 sold. And the reason my book works is, and it's not for everybody, but for the people who like it and use it, it works. And the reason it works is because it's focused and it's different. Because everybody else is doing like one of you mentioned early on, you were calling expired listings, and you didn't want to be one of those 40 or 50 phone calls that the expired got. And I don't want to be that either. I was the first 15 years. But do the drop letters, do the Facebook messages, send the custom cards. You are different. You're going to get appointments. Right. So that's why my book's different than any other real estate book out there. Perfect.
Yeah, you touched on something right there that we like to call SOS, shiny object syndrome. And I believe we all have that because there is so many great books out there. We're always trying to, I try to take in a book a week. And then I just noticed driving down the road about 2 weeks ago, I was listening to something and just kind of like, man, I'm just taking in too much stuff, and so exactly. we had a focus meeting where we started, okay, what's our one thing, which I've read the one thing 10 times, and I constantly throw it on, and it came in my life. You had mentioned this too, that it came in my life one morning at a perfect time where I was right in the middle of before I started building, what I consider my team was the ebbs and flows. I was in the ebb. And so I had made $30,000 the month before or 2 months before, but then I spent it all. And so I was kind of like, oh, what am I going to do now? I've got no listings. I've got no buyers. I've got nothing. And I popped on the one thing. And that's when I got focused a few years back. And so I find that we also go through ebbs and flows of our what we focus on. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'd like to throw one more thing out there at you because this, other than stopping the cold phone calls, there's one thing in real estate that 95+% of the realtors to this day are still missing out on. And if you use it, you will get listings like crazy. And what it is, the technology has been out there for 8 or 9 years. It's drone technology. And everybody goes, oh, yeah, I know about that. If I get a listing that needs a drone, I'm going to get aerial photographs. Well, yeah, if you get a listing that needs one, maybe you will. But the key is you go after those expired listings, even in Austin. I guarantee you, because I've been on your MLS. I was in Austin. I was in Gary Keller's office about 3 months ago, and I looked at the MLS out there. In every market around the country, I was on the Los Angeles market with a new coaching client a couple weeks ago. And it's true in every market, even the high-end listings. A lot of agents are still on $1 million, a $2 million, a $3 million listing. They're still not using aerial photography. And it's not only for luxury listings. You know, in a market that has an average sale price of $200,000 or less, if it's a nice yard, if it's a $175,000 house, and you're going to make, $5,000 or $6,000 commission, is it worth spending $300 to get aerial photographs? Yes, it is. So you look at those expired listings, no matter what the price is, and if it has a really nice size yard or it has a pool in the back or whatever, it has a view, and if an aerial photo is going to make that stand out, you meet with that seller. Of course, you got to meet with them to show them, and you bring pictures that the previous agent used, those photos, especially the first photo. And you say, look, your previous agent did not use an aerial photo. Let me show you some listings of mine where I use the aerial photo. And then you get on Zillow, because as much as we all hate Zillow, let's face it, Zillow gets more hits than, Keller Williams, Remax, Coldback, or everybody. You get on Zillow on your either on your tablet, or on your cell phone, or on your laptop, or on their computer, or whatever, and you pull up homes in their price range, 6 homes, 8 homes, whatever, on the screen, and you're going to find that almost all of them just have that standard photo from the front of the yard, looking at the house. And you say, now imagine if your home had an aerial photo, and if there's one aerial photo, because when buyers do searches, they put their parameters in, and 10, 20, 50, sometimes 100 homes come up and match those. And all that the buyer sees is that first photo, a short description, a price, and an address. If that first photo doesn't grab them, they move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. But when you use an aerial photo and they're looking at that on Zillow, and on the screen they see 5 or 6 or 10 homes, or Realtor.com or KW or EXP or whatever, it doesn't matter. We're all the same. We all just show one photo. When they see an aerial photo, everybody's eyes just instantly go there. It's drawn to that photo, and that brings attention. So if you don't wait till you get a listing to hire an FAA-approved drone photographer. Meet with that seller of an expired home. Let them know that their first photo needed to be an aerial photo when it does need to be an aerial photo, and you're going to get that listing almost every time.
Great advice. Great advice. All right. Well, we're running out of time here. We're wrapping it up. Any last thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap up, Jim?
I love talking to realtors. Like I say, anybody who wants my book, Amazon.com, just search Jim McCord or search Revolution Real Estate Sales. If you don't like it, send the book back. I'll send you your $10. And if anybody's thinking about coaching, what I'll tell you about coaching is I can't believe it, but most agents will pick a coach because of reviews or whatever. And you have to pick a coach that fits with your personality and something you're going to do. So if you're an agent, which, the great majority of agents are not going to make 50 cold phone calls a day. If you're not going to make 50 cold phone calls a day, for the love of God, don't pay a coach hundreds of dollars a month who's going to tell you to make cold calls. You're not going to do it anyway. Yeah, it blows me away, but agents do that.
Cool. Well,
so pick a coach or a system that's something that actually blends with your personality and something you'll do and focus, and you'll do well. But yeah, I love talking to realtors, so connect with me. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or call me.
Sounds good. Okay, perfect. Well, Jim McCord, Marshall, do you have something else?
Yeah, Jim, I just wanted to thank you for some fantastic ideas today. I can't wait to implement them and try it out.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, we're gonna stay in touch with you, definitely, man. If you need anything from us in Austin, Texas, we'll definitely get it to you. If you need anything up there in Jim's neck of the woods, he's giving you the ways to reach out to him. Jim, thanks again. We really appreciate it. We're gonna go ahead and lead out now. So I wanted to thank Guaranteed Rate, Mike Carroll over at Guaranteed Rate. He is our lender to our team. He does a fantastic job. If you can't get somebody qualified, give Mike Carroll a buzz. Actually, you can reach him at info@realestateontherocks.com, and we will definitely connect you with him. Marshall, I'm going to go ahead and sign out here. I appreciate everybody. Jim, once again, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
I'm out.